Welcome, scholars. Are we ready to wrap up Module 2 with our Excel reports? Don't forget to submit your completed Excel spreadsheet or equivalent and your Zoom report to the relative Module Excel Report tab. Excel reports without a Zoom video are worth half credit. Let's go ahead and just dive right into our Excel. Starting with number 1, we're talking about a survey that was taken of 500 men and 500 women, asking folks' opinion to see if they thought that federal government bailout money should be used to help homeowners in default. And just glimpsing through the problem here, I find out that it wants me to give the probability of, let's get a little highlighter here. Let's see. If a person who participated in the survey, what is the probability that he or she answered no? All right, and then it says to give your answer as a reduced fraction, decimal to the nearest thousandths, and percent to the nearest tenths. All right, the next question asks me if you had stopped a random woman and asked her opinion, what's the probability she would have said that the bailout money should be? So in other words, what's the probability that she said yes? And then again, we have the same thing, fraction, decimal to the thousandths, and percent. All right, and then for the last one here, the colors are just fun. What is the probability that the person selected is a man who answered either yes or not sure? And again, with the fraction, decimal, percent, and, yeah, that's it. Fraction, decimal, and percent. All right, so then the last one asks me which type of probability is being used to answer these questions, explain how you know, and describe the probability and how it can be used. Okay, we'll look at that toward the end. But for now, let's move on over to our Excel. Starting here on Excel, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to select, I guess, alpha through golf here, and I'm going to merge those cells. Now, if you guys are sitting like me with your Excel video open on one side and your Excel spreadsheet on the other side, and you don't see all of these characters, then watch this. I'm just going to make my Excel sheet smaller, and watch how all my cool options disappear. You see that? Now those options are stuck under alignment, and then some options we'll use later are stuck under number. But you guys don't have to have yours stuck. Just get this to the size you need it, as big as you possibly can, and still watch the video as you follow along. But you can at least get it big enough to have your cool options show up, at least mostly, right? All right, so I just merged this, and I'm going to type in me, Amy Benzi, and you type in you, whoever you might be. And this is going to be my Module 2 Excel report. And it's on probability. You guys can put the date. You might want to put 9/24/2018. That's my date. I actually made this for you on Friday, but accidentally turned the volume off when I went to undo a function at the top of my Excel sheet, and it pulled up my app that I used to record this, and I accidentally turned off the audio. So whoop-de-doo, I get to make it again. That's all right. Hopefully it'll be better this time. Okay, so here I'm going to start off on number 1. And for number 1, I'm going to start a little below number 1 because I don't want to have to move stuff around. So I'm going to go ahead and start building my little chart here. And I like to use my arrow over keys, the arrows up, down, left, right. It's just an easy way for me to navigate Excel. And you guys just fill yours in. You don't have to go in the same order as me. I certainly hope you're going in whatever natural order you like. All right, so hopefully you paused and filled yours in if it took you a little longer than me. I am going to go ahead and select this little chart, and then I am going to choose all borders. Right up here at the top, all borders. All right, now you see how my borders are nice and dark? That's because I've already done this on this document. So, or spreadsheet, I'm sorry. An Excel is not a document, I was told. It's a spreadsheet, so you guys can learn that too. But what happened here is on your borders, if you don't get a nice thick border like I did, I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so really when you guys put your all borders on here, it will look like that. And yes, at least it gives some distinction, but not quite as cool. So what you guys can do is go to your borders, go to your line style. There are other ways to do this. There are thicker borders and all kinds of creative things you can do. But here are simples. You can just choose from these. I'm going to click this dark one here because I like it. It's very distinguished. And once I do, it's going to give me a pin. And with your pin, you can just select certain borders to do. Or what I do is just press escape. The pin goes away. And then I can select the part that I want to border and then go back to all borders. And now I'll have that nice, thick, distinct border. And I can even, there are so many cool things you can do here. Look at, oh, it says sparklings. Well, anyway, it makes me think of glitter. A student told me that last summer, that using Excel is like putting glitter all over something. So have fun with it. All right, so just to continue forward here, I like to color my labels to distinguish them from the data. That way I know what I'm looking at, or at what I'm looking. Yoda. And that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and look back at our problem. It says if a person who participated in the survey is selected at random, the probability that he or she answered no. Well, how do I know how many people had no? Well, I have to do some math here. But I'd rather have Excel do the math for me. It's more fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add another column and another row to this little chart of mine. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and double click and Control Charlie, double click Control Victor. That's how you cut and paste. And they colored those for me, but I'm going to actually change that in a minute. I need some totals here. How many people said yes? If you guys know Cogburn in one of my classes, otherwise known as Rooster, he gets his cool name from the John Wayne character Cogburn, who had the nickname Rooster, because Cogburn's a cool character, just like the John Wayne character. So Rooster says this. Rooster says, Miss Benzi, I love the sum button, the all sum button. He loves the capital sigma here because you just click it and it gives you your sum. You don't feel like doing math? No problemo. Just click the all sums button and it gives you everything you need. If you're adding. Of course, you could do the drop down menu and do all kinds of cool functions with this, but we're just summing these up for now. And what else? We already know how many total min we have, but I mean, if we're like Rooster, we love the auto sum button, so we just like to keep clicking it. Plus, I just like to double check. I also know that all the people added together, everybody who said yes, no, and not sure, should add to what? You got it, 1,000, because all the total people. Now, my chart's looking just a little lopsided because it is not all bordered for everything, so there we have that. Another thing is, you see my totals are not part of the data. So I select all those totals, hold my control button down and select those totals, let go of the control button, go back up to my paint, and I'm going to highlight these in a different color. This dull yellow looks good to me. Now I can see, I can easily distinguish between my labels, my actual totals, which are a different set of data than my individual data responses. All right, so here I have this nice little chart, and now I need to make another chart. I think it would be nicely organized if I made a chart for these probabilities with an answer, a reduced fraction, a decimal, and a percentage. So that way I can have everything into one nice organized chart. I'm going to select this chart, and I am going to go ahead and move it right over here just to kind of get it out of my way. That ought to be good enough. I guess I'll move it down one more for no particular reason. All right, so here now I am going to build another chart. My next chart is going to be my chart of probabilities. So these are my probabilities. And then next door here, I'm just arrowing over, I want my fractions. And then my simplified fractions or reduced fractions. I'm going to use the word simplified because we already used the word reduced in the actual question, and I like to use a little diversity. Simplified fractions, and then we want a decimal to the nearest thousandths. I hope I'm spelling all this stuff right. If I'm not, then I hope yours will be. And then here I'm going to have the next thing is percent to the nearest tenth. All right, so what are you thinking right now when you look at this? You're like, hey, I can't even see the stuff in there. So what I'm going to do here, folks, is kind of cool. I am going to widen this row. Uh-oh. But look, you see what I'm about to do, I do not want to do to the top of this chart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply move this chart a little bit more. And when I move it, I select it. I should have mentioned that when I moved it a second ago. And I have to get this certain cursor, which I discuss in more detail in other videos, the first one. All right, so there I've moved that. Now I am going to widen this row, select the row, drag it down, and then I'm just going to select just these columns that I wrote stuff in. I'm not even sure if this is Foxtrot, not golf, right? Okay, golf is empty. So just Bravo through Foxtrot on mine. Yours might be different. I'm going to right click and format my cell. And then I am going to go to alignment, click alignment, and then wrap. And okay. All right, but I still have some stuff I can't see. I can see in this probabilities, now it's just too big. I'm going to go ahead and make all of these fonts just a little smaller, maybe an 8. That looks good. I'm also going to center them just for aesthetic purposes. Now, under my probability, I am going to start listing these questions over here. The first one wants the probability that we had an answer of no. The part 2 wants a probability that we had what? An answer of yes, but I didn't care if a man said yes. I only cared if a woman said yes. The next one, I had the probability that we had an answer of, what was it, yes, or not sure, if it were a man. Okay. So now what I am going to do is I am actually going to just widen this entire column here. I have options, you guys. I could merge these cells and do some other things, but once you start merging cells, you cannot move things around the way we moved this little chart. I learned that from experience. So rather than moving merging any cells, I'm just going to go ahead and spread this whole thing out. Maybe not quite as much as I was just about to, because I'm actually also going to I'll just make it a 9. Pull that out a little. All right, looks good. It looks like I have a nice chart flowing here. I am going to outline my chart, select it, and then choose all borders. All right, and I am neglecting to talk to you guys about clicking. You know, when there's a certain way that you click on things. If you do not know how to do that, then you may want to go through and watch some of Module 1's Excel video if you skip that assignment, because that's where it's all explained over and over again. So I am flowing a little more fluently on this video. All right, super. So now let's start looking at the fractions that we need. I'm going to take this little box and move it again. I know he's getting moved all around. All right, just to have everything in one window for as big as I have this. I want the probability that anybody answered no. Well, the probability that anybody out there answered no would be the number of outcomes that we want, which if we look over at our chart, we see that's 500. 500 people said no, divided by all the people that we have, all of our sample numbers. So that's 500 divided by 1,000. I hit enter and it gives it to me in a decimal, but I need this particular piece to stay as the fraction that I put it in, this fraction. So what I'm going to do, because I put an equal sign in here, I'm going to put a little apostrophe here, this little apostrophe, and then when I hit enter, it will stay. And I'm just going to widen this column just a tad here too. All right, now I'm going to double click in here and select this by click and drag across. I could right click and copy or control Charlie. And then I'm going to double click in the next cell and paste that in there. Now, the reason I did that, or just hit Control Victor, that will also paste it, and then I'm hitting enter. But I don't need a decimal here. I need a simplified fraction. So you simply click the cell, go to number, up to general, and click fraction. And it automatically takes me to 1/2, which is correct. All right, so now I want to double click here, Control Victor. This one wants a decimal to the nearest thousandths. Well, this only goes to the tenths. And that is it. Because look, if I come up here and move I have to check the cell, click the cell, and then it will give me as many zeros as I want. Although you don't need zeros, I'm just going to go ahead and include them just to show that, hey, it really is rounded to the thousandths, which only 1 0 would show that, but I also want to show you how to use these cool keys. All right, now for %, Control Victor. I'm still pasting the same fraction in there, and then I hit enter. It gives it to me as a decimal, so I simply click the cell, go back up to general, and click %. And I didn't have to click % there. I could have clicked % right here also. Once I click %, you can see the percentage gave me with the decimal value. My instructions say a decimal to the nearest tenth. I do not need to do 0.0 on this, but I'm just putting it there because the instructions say to the nearest tenth to show you the tenths place. All right, so the next one is the answer for someone who said yes, given that they were a woman. And you guys noticed, some of you noticed on your homework that the denominator was wrong on one of the answers for this. And it could be that the question was misunderstood by you and me, or it could be that there was an incorrect answer. Either way, for the sake of this, we are going to say that it means yes, an answer of yes, given that it was a woman. All right, so I am going to put my equal sign, and how many people said yes? Do I care about all the people? No. How many women said yes? 240. And the number of total women who were asked was 500. So I am going to, well, remember what's going to happen when I click enter here, and I don't want that. For this first one, I just want to keep my fractions, so I put my little apostrophe. And I am going to copy this. Remember, you don't copy the apostrophe. Forgot to mention that a second ago. And then Control Victor and hit enter. All right, but I don't want a decimal here. I want a fraction. And it gives me a fraction of 1/2. Now, some of you in class today did this with a calculator and realized it's not 1/2. I didn't even notice it the first time I did this in class. So then we learned, Wiley, our awesome classroom tutor, helped us to see that if we click on this 1/2 on this cell, then I can come back up here to the scroll down menu. No, that's not right. I've only did this once in class today, Wiley, so bear with me if you watch this. Right here, there's this little tiny arrow for more options. And right here for my fractions, it asks me 1 digit, 2 digits, 3 digits, and all of this stuff. Isn't that cool? So and look, I have all kinds of choices with my other things too. So when you guys ever use Excel for your science class or something, you would use your scientific notation. All right, so I'm going to go up to 3 digits. And now it gives me my true reduced fraction. Pretty cool, huh? All right, next is my decimal to the nearest thousandths. Again, this only goes to the to the hundredths. So I am going to give myself a little more, only to show you guys that it's the thousandths. You truly do not need that 0. I know I keep saying that, but I just think it's cool we can even do this. Control Victor. I just love Excel. Now I want a percent, so I just click my percent here, but I'm going to move my decimal over just to show. All right, my next one is if it's a man, you said yes or not sure. So now I do need to do a little bit of math that is not in my chart up here. So I want to know how many men said no or not sure. So I'm going to just press an equal sign into some random blank cell and gather the information here. Men who said yes plus men who were not sure gives me 215, and I know I could have done that in my head, but it's so cool that I can do it on Excel. So, and don't forget we need our apostrophe, equals all the men who said no and not sure. Oh, this isn't working because I put the apostrophe, so I'm going to put my apostrophe later. All the men who said no or not sure divided by, and you know, really I could have been doing this all along, divided by the number of, because then I wouldn't be able to cut and paste it, I see. The total number of men. I was just wondering why I didn't do that. And the reason why, I think, let me just see. Control C, Control Victor, enter. Oh, I think it's gonna work. Fraction, and then I have to do that thing again each time. You can select a bunch of cells and do it all at once. And I'm sure there's probably a way to make it a default, which I'll have to look into because I don't know right now. Cool. So I was able to do the cool thing where I select my data from over here, show the cells that I used, and then actually apply it over here. That's pretty cool. So just kind of move that over once. And then again. And this time I want a percent. And I'm just going to show it. Whoops, percent please. I have to click my cell, make sure your cell is highlighted if it's not working. And move it over, and voila. All right, now that we have this, all right, guys, sorry, I had a phone call. You actually wouldn't believe my brother's daughter was being bit by their pet snake in the stomach, and they couldn't get it off. So I advised them to get into a warm shower, and it worked instantly. So if that ever happens to you. All right, so the next thing, I think I'm pretty much done with this problem. I am going to insert a text box. And honestly, I didn't mean to work all these for you guys. I meant to just work the first one and have you do the rest. But right here, you're going to give me a little briefing, a description, all about part delta, which type of probability is being used. Is it empirical or is it theoretical? Tell me why. Why would it be empirical? Is it because it's experimental? Because we actually did an experiment? And then also you're going to explain how you know this. Well, because we know the definition of empirical and theoretical probability. And then also how can it be used? Well, if my data was collected using an unbiased survey and the population sample was taken randomly, then I can say that this information, this data, could be used to project onto a much larger population. And from this sample of 1,000 people, I might decide what the entire county or the entire city, or who knows, the whole state. We don't know any more about this experiment than what we can conjure up. So you give me a nice little report here and include that in your Excel Zoom report. And we will now move on to number 2. All right, so for number 2, let's get our paper set up here. Oh, it's only at the top. All right, and on my Excel, I'm doing number 2. All right, and for number 2, it is, oh, this is a fun one. So if 2 dice are rolled, we want to find the probability of getting the listed results. Write your answer as a reduced fraction, a decimal to the nearest thousandths place, and the percent to the tens place. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? I'm actually going to go ahead and highlight that just so that I don't forget. Write your answer as all this stuff. Use correct notation to record your probability, sentence, example, all that. And I'm going to find the sum of an even, the product of a prime, sum of a multiple of 3, and a product of 12. Now, for Module 1, we did a problem similar to this, but we only found sums. We didn't find products. So this one's going to be just a little bit different, and I'm going to use two charts instead of one. The reason I scrolled back up on my Excel over here is because I realized I never labeled my problem. So I would have liked to label this right here by merging some cells. And what should we name this problem? What was number 1? How about probability of a survey? Maybe you guys can get more creative. I just want you to label it something. So here now I'm going to merge this one, and this is going to be probability of products and sums of rolling 2 dice. And this should be all capitalized. If we were on a Word document, we would have that option up here. Or, at least it's a title, so please do it accordingly. But for time's sake, I'm going to move along. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build 2 charts. Or I think I actually ended up building like 4 on the first time through here. And this one is going to be for sums. And my sums, I'm gonna make my Excel small right now because I'm gonna do a lot of work and I want you guys to be able to see everything I do. Or let's see, at least I can. I love touch screen. It took me a while to even start using the touch screen on this computer. All right, so I'm gonna have my first die has a 1 and a 2. Once I get a 1 and a 2, Once I get 2 going here, I can just select these 2 cells and then get my black cursor and move it over to be 6. Then I'm going to do the same thing in a row here, a 1 and a 2. Select those 2 cells and scroll it down to 6. All right, now I am going to highlight these guys to some color. What do you say? Green? Okay. Highlight these. All right, now I want to make this whole thing into a chart. All borders. I still have my nice thick borders. And of course, you can always change them if you want to get creative. All right, so let's see what we can do here. I know that these are sums, so 1 plus 1 is 2, but I don't want to have to type 36 numbers into here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put in my equal sign, and I am going to say 1, this one, plus this one is equal, actually I just had another thought, is equal to 2. You see how that happened? So let's look. I guess what I was just thinking was changing this to be a different color so I knew it was 2 different dice. But then I thought, man, I'm going to have to change all the colors. But heck, why not, right? There. Now we have, this gives us our data, and then we have a blue die and a green die, and then we'll have our products in here. So that's kind of cool. But this is what I want to show you. So you see that I applied this formula here. Now, will Excel know to do that? No, it will not, because what's happened here is this one chose Golf 29 plus Hotel 28. You see how the proximity between these cells, the diagonal like this? Well, look what Excel did on the next one. It did the same proximity, Hotel 29 and India 28. So it did, again, these diagonals, and so it will do all the way across. That's how Excel applies formulas. So I'm going to undo that. And now I need to recognize that, okay, I want to do 1 plus each one of these numbers up here. I'm going to go ahead and keep my rows still. In other words, I don't want Excel to move this one. There's a name for this. I can't remember what it is. But we press, it's like a stabilizer, some synonym to that. And if we put a $sign on either side of this golf, it will tell us, hey, you're going to keep this right exactly where it is. So now that 1 will not change. Now I can select this. The 1 will not change, but it will still get the next, you see this goes to India 28. India 29, I'm sorry, Juliet 28, Kilo 28. I keep changing the number. I need to change the letter. And so the next one obviously is going to be Lima 28 and then Mike 28. All right, so cool. Now I'm going to do that for each one of these. I am going to just drag this whole thing down. And it's going to still keep that 1, I know, but now the only thing I have to change is just this. So what stays the same here? The fact that it's golf, but now it's going to be 30. So now I can just change this to 30. Right? Can't I? No, because it used this 2. That's okay. We learn together, don't we? All right, so let me just go back and undo a bunch of stuff. You have to like select completely outside of the cell to undo things. I think it'll be easier for me to just clear these cells. So I'm going to select, right click, clear contents. All right, so that didn't work out, which is perfectly fine. Sometimes things don't work out. And I am going to $sign this. Why a $sign? I have no earthly idea. Probably just what was left when someone decided they needed this function. All right, so now apply. And I'm just going to do this for each one of these. Uh-oh. Plus. Oh, I kept hitting enter instead of plus. All right, are we almost done? We're getting there, aren't we, you guys? I know it's quiet. You guys are just following along. You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. Yay, one more to go. Aren't you glad these aren't 10-sided dice? I don't know. Would it have been easier to just type it all in? But then we went and learned how to use the cool Excel functions, huh? There are actually quicker ways I could have done this, but I did want to show you guys how to use the $sign, which I think we've already done that. All right, super, here we go. I have all of my sums. Now I am going to go ahead and make 2 of these because you see here I have sum of evens and sum of multiples of 3. Another thing I'm going to do is instead of the word sums, I'm going to use my cool sigma key. And the sigma means sums, but I'm going to put it in as insert a symbol. You guys are going to have to scroll through your symbols. You can see mine down below under recently used because I do use my sigma symbol often enough. But you guys just keep scrolling down until you see it. I'm not sure where it is, but just pause the video and find it. Is it somewhere toward the end? I always do this. I can never stop actually doing it. There, was it? All right, anyway, so you find yours and here's mine right here. And then you click insert and then close. So here we have the sum of an even number. So I can write the sum of an even number, but I'm going to get even nerdier than that. And I'm going to say the sum of 2n. How about that, huh? And the reason I'm saying the sum of 2n, because n represents any number, and 2 times any number is even, right? I guess we'll just leave it like that. All right, make it bold, at least give it some little distinction there. All right, cool. So now this one is going to give us the sum of any number times 2, even numbers. I'm going to Control C and Control V this. All right, but this one is multiples of 3. That means any number times 3. 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3. So this one is the sum of all multiples of 3. You see that? Pretty cool, huh? All right, now I am going to cut and paste that again. I'm going to do that right over here. I'm not sure what just happened, but I am sure that I can. Well, there we go. Something very odd is happening. No problem. Sometimes that happens, but I am not starting the video over for this. Okay. There. I think we're all good now. So I am now going to cut and paste that again, like I was just saying. I need to make this smaller. It's just getting out of hand for me. I need to select the whole thing again. Sorry, you guys. I know this is probably making you dizzy. Select Control Charlie and Control Victor and Control Victor. Oh wait, I'm not going to do that one yet because I'm going to do something cool. Watch. All right, so those were sums. Now I want products. You know how sigma signifies products? Well, capital Pi signifies products. So here I am going to insert a symbol for products, and you guys can search your symbols. I'm just going to stick mine. I already have it ready here. And now I'm going to write the product of a prime. I could get really fancy with the prime and give a formula, but there are so many different ones. And I'm just going to Control C, Control Charlie, Control Victor. Voila. But this one is the product of 12. All right. Look at all these cool charts I have labeled. Now, I am not going to do this whole entire problem with you guys. I'm going to leave some of this for you to have fun doing. So, I will go ahead and get you started. I'm actually going to create one more chart for you before I leave you guys alone. And that chart is going to look something like this. First, we want the probabilities. And then we are going to have the sum. I'm just going to grab my little thing right here because won't that make it easy? Just one moment. Okay, let's actually move this over here. All right, instead of probabilities, I am going to write probability of an event. And right here, I am going to write the probability of the sum of an even number. And what's for this one? Should we just write it out or should we keep it nerdy? We could write the sum of an even number, but we'll just keep it nerdy. How about that? All right, now let's Control C, Control Victor. And now for this one, I just changed this to a 3, which some of you might be saying, hey, you didn't change this to a 3. Now I did. Hopefully you noticed that. The next one is the probability. I'm just going to stick these in there. Make it easy. The product of a prime. And I'm just cutting and pasting, and it's all about clicking here. You guys might not be able to click as easily as me because I'm experienced. I know that when I come over to select this little cell, I have to double click inside of it. And I had to do it twice because I wasn't quite in it. If I double click again, I can Control Charlie, double click over here. I can copy what's inside these little parentheses and Control Victor. I'm just good at clicking because I practice so much with these Excel functions. So if you guys can get good at clicking, it'll help you too. I'm going to go ahead and here's a good practice right here. Double click in each cell. I just wanted to put an equal sign in each one of those. This is all for the aesthetics of my chart, what I'm doing right now. I select everything. I'm going to go back to home. And I'm going to move it all to the right. All right, so now I am going to start putting some of my probabilities in here, but it looks like I moved this. Oh, I see, because that's my label up there. All right, so I'm going to pause this. All right, here we are again. Probability of the event, and then we want more stuff. I guess the thing I'm not liking right now is the fact that I think I'm going to have to move all my charts over. It's got me just a little bit. That's all right, no big deal. All right, so the probability of what event? First, I want this. Oh, I know. Cool. I already have this up here. Remember? We had probabilities, fractions, all this stuff. I'm just going to select all this, Control Copy, and Control Paste. Alrighty, no problem. So I am going to actually move my charts over. I'm going to make this real small to make it manageable. And I'm just going to select all these charts and simply move them. I'm actually going to move them also down one so that part that's widened is not interfering with what I've done here. All right, and I guess this is all good. All right, so I'm going to turn this into an all borders. And now I'm going to go ahead and make it big again. All right, so you guys have your nice little chart here created for you. You can, you know, make your colors nice. I expect you to make your colors nice. Tell me what are labels, what is your data. You're going to put this in as fractions, simplified fraction, decimal, and percent, exactly like we did above. So you guys will follow all of that. I'm sorry, I'm looking over here because some weird things have happened. You see that this is missing right here? I wonder why. I'm just going to see if this 6 plus 2 is 8. All right. I also just realized that I forgot to show you guys this. Right here, I am using multiplication instead of addition. So now I can, this is where Excel saves time because I can just change that to multiplication, hit enter, and it will change. Did it change anything? No. And oh, okay, that's right. Come over here. I just have to change each of these to multiplication. Make sure you press enter to get out of everything. All right, now I'm just going to select all of these because my formulas are already in there and drag it over. And just make sure everything worked. Yes, it did. So now I am going to get rid of this whole chart, clear contents, and I am just going to Control C and Control V right over that. All right. Sorry about that. I guess I'm still distracted by my brother, so excuse me on this video. I'm sorry. Now here we have our fractions. I guess I'll get you started on one of these to show you what I expect here. When we're talking about the sum of an even number, you guys did this on the module 1. I'm going to go through and just select these. Select the cell. This is my sum of even numbers. I hold down the control key and I keep that control key down and just click on every even number that you see. Notice it selects one behind you because the actual one that's currently being selected does not highlight. So if you're wondering what's going on with that, that's what it is. All right, and the 12 is not going to highlight, you guys, so it's highlighted. It's just a little harder to see. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose some kind of color for my evens. How about evens are peachy? Okay. And then I count them up. Well, I have 3 times 6. So I have 18 even numbers here. So that's 18 out of 36 equals 18 out of 36. And again, you guys see that this happens. We don't want that to happen. So in this case, we are going to put our little apostrophe. Okay? And when you guys do this, you have all kinds of options. You can go through and do each of your fractions all at once. You can select all of your cells. And don't forget, you are going to have to select this little piece here and tell it to do your fractions up to 3 digits. Okay, don't forget that for your simplified fractions. So then, did we already copy this? Well, I'm having a hard time copying it without the apostrophe, so I'm just going to delete it in this cell instead. And that one really is 1/2, so that was easy enough. All right, and I'm not going to keep going through all of these, but I want you guys to finish up this chart. Get all of your charts filled in. Uh-oh, this is not a prime. This was of 12s, remember? All right, so you guys go ahead and do all this, fill everything in, and then don't forget at the end, you are going to insert a text box right here, and you're going to talk to me about the probabilities of rolling 2 dice and getting the sums of an even or the sums of multiples of 3, and rolling 2 dice in the probability of getting products of the primes and products of 12. And you're going to write me a little report here. And that will be the end of number 2. Let's move on to number 3. All right, guys, moving on to number 3. For number 3, we are dealing with what? Lottery. A joke among math and stats folks is that lotteries are a tax on other folks who aren't good at math. Here's the back of one lottery ticket. The lottery ticket says that the probability of winning $5 is 1 in 14. The probability of winning $10 is 1 in 8.57, and on here. And then it goes on to ask us some of the wants us to create a table, and we'll do all this. So they're described as odds. Are they really odds? Describe exactly what these numbers represent using terminology from this lesson. So you guys are going to talk about these being actual probabilities and not odds. And you can, go back and look at your homework problem number 23. So we're going to start off by creating a table using the odds on the back of the ticket. And we're going to remember a couple of things. I'm going to go ahead and pause this video in order to make this table because this is going to take me a while. So here we go. All right, here we are back again. I know you're probably thinking, how did I do that in less than a minute, right? Because I already have it done. All right, so here we go. Here we have create a table to calculate the probabilities for each numerical outcome from the perspective of a player, not the lottery commission. So in other words, we want to know what anybody's probability is of making money. We're not asking what the probability of the lottery commission is to make money yet. Remember, you must pay $5 for the ticket. Round your probabilities to 3 digits after any beginning zero. And we'll talk about that as we move along here. So just remember, you have to pay $5 to buy the ticket, which means that if you scratch the ticket and you win $5, this ticket costs $5. And it says it somewhere in the problem here. The image below is the back of a $5 scratch-off ticket. So if you paid $5 and you won $5, come back over here to your chart, and you see that's right here where you actually, let me just make this bigger for you guys, where you actually broke even. So right here, I scratched off $5, which means my outcome was 0. Okay? But this is giving us the probability of scratching $5. So I have to keep that in mind, that scratching $5 means I'm actually winning $0. And the probability of that happening is 1 out of every 14 tickets. And yes, this top one is blank because it doesn't give us this probability of winning nothing, which is actually not winning nothing, but losing $5. So it doesn't give us this, but we'll talk about that here in a minute too. All right, so if I scratch $10, I actually win $5 because I paid $5. If I scratch 15, I actually win 10 because I've already paid 5. Get it? And here, looking back over at our probabilities, I'll just highlight a couple of these so you guys know from whence they came. Hello, where's my, why is this, oh, I guess it won't highlight because it's a picture. I see. That's okay. I can get a pen. I'm going to draw with a cool space pen. All right, so right here, I see that $5, I'm not very good at drawing with this, is, oh shoot, Control Z that. Just get this highlighter. Maybe that'll work. To win $5, sorry folks, just not really going my way here. I'm going to make my highlighter big and fat. Oh, here we go. $5 has a 1 in 14 chance of winning. $10 is 1 in 8.57. $15 is 1 in 140. That's where these fractions came from on my Excel. 1 in 14, 1 in 8.57, 1 in 40, and you just go through and copy all of those down. I'm going to go ahead and widen my delta column here just because of this overlap down here on my, what is that, 100,000. I'm going to just widen this just a little to make it a little easier to look at. Also, another thing I want to do is these are actually outcomes. So I'm actually going to go ahead and apply dollars here by using this key. Now this says accounting format. I'm not really sure that's what I want. Let's see. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me just check my other options really quick and see if it says currency. And I just put that. I think that's a little better than accounting format. Seemed a little bit of overkill for this. Currency again. Cool. Now I can see this is actually what I scratched and this is what I win. If you guys liked the accounting better, you can choose it. Just going to look at it again. I don't know. What do you think? Kind of hard to say. The dollar sign just makes it so busy. I almost don't even want it there, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave it since it's there. All right, so now I have probabilities. I want it in decimal, percentage, outcome. So I am actually going to go through and just select all of these cells to get my data. Control C, Control Victor. Now each one of these is going to have this little comma. I'm sorry, not a comma, a parenthesis, whatever it is. I hope you guys can know what it is. Now, do you see how once I took the apostrophe away, thank you, it changed this thing to a date. It's extremely aggravating and I have no idea. I didn't have an idea how to get rid of this yesterday, but today I do. All you do is you select this cell, you go up to your numbers, see where it says custom right here? You're going to select that and you're going to change it to whatever we were looking for. I don't remember now. It's covered up. Was it fraction? No, it was not fraction. It was a decimal. So I'm going to get rid of that. Equals 1/14. Enter. And now what I'm going to do here is have Excel give this to me as a decimal, which is general, just a general number. Oh, there it is. The probability as a decimal to 3 digits from any beginning zeros. Well, folks, the zeros to the right of the decimal are your beginning zeros. In this case, I only have 1. So I'm actually going to let Excel round this for me right there. All right, now the next one, I just put an equal sign here. Press enter. I have this. I have no beginning zeros, so I'm going to let Excel round that to the thousandths place. This one needed an equal sign, but Excel gave me that. So I'm going to move the decimal over again. 3 spaces past the beginning zeros. This one gave me a date again. So I am going to, I don't have these options up here when I'm clicked in the cell for typing. I have to actually click out of the cell, click back in the cell, just to highlight it in green. It's kind of hard to see because of my thick borders, and go back to general, and it will give me my answer here. And now I can move my decimal. All right, and I just keep moving along. I'm just putting equal signs in here because on this first one I was just showing my probability. Now I'm actually calculating my probability. Yay, that one's already rounded to the right place and everything. All right, this one may or may not be, I don't know, but it probably is. Very good. Just going to leave it there, just like that. Sometimes clicking inside of the cell to add the equal sign is a little difficult. Because you can arrow over or you can re-click. Anything I had to use an apostrophe on is going to give me a date. That's why I use the apostrophe. So for each of those, you'll have to go back up and click General. At least that one's already rounded to the right value. All right, this one clearly is incorrect. So when I changed this one from whatever weird thing it did with the date back to that, it did that. So I am going to select this again over here. Control C. Control Victor. Don't forget, you guys, this is all part of learning how to use Excel as a math tool. So if it's not perfect, that's okay. All right, but we do already have this on general, so that's good. I'm just going to double check to make sure this is rounded and not just cut off. All right, you see where it says e to the -5. Folks, it put this automatically into scientific notation. See up here where it says general, watch when I click on this. Well, it doesn't say it did, but it did. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click general. Well, let's see if our decimal will move, will it? No. The decimal will not move because it is in scientific notation. So I do need to get it back into, I think, number. And see how my value is very, very small? I need to move my decimal over. Keep moving it. There it was. You see? 3 spaces past the beginning zeros. And when, oh, I meant to mention, maybe we'll see it on this one. Yes. E to the -6. That means times 10 to the -6. And remember, times 10 to the -6 in scientific notation would mean to move the decimal place 10 places to the left. So how many beginning zeros are we going to have here? Well, 6 is one place, so we'll have 5 zeros. And I'll show you. Select, change this to number, and then move your decimal over until you have 3 digits past the beginning zeros. Okay, and again, same old, same old. Number, move decimals. Whoops, a little too far. Oh, that's my birthday. Or no, it's not. March 2nd, 1973. It's my birthday backwards. That's funny. I recognized it was my birthday even though it was backwards. Oops, I need an equal sign here. Change it to number. And move my decimal. Oh, I should have made you guys look to see how many decimal places it was going to move. Oh, well. All right, now let's look at this. What do I want to calculate now? Well, folks, now let's figure out the probability of winning nothing or losing $5, which is the same thing. If my ticket scratches 0, I'll lose $5. I am going to add up all this probability here. All of this. I want to know what is 1 minus all of this. Isn't that what I want to know? What is equals 1 minus, you ready for something cool? The sum, I type in sum and Excel gives me this little formula here. The sum of all of these numbers. Haha, isn't that cool? And I press enter. Now, because probabilities, it equals 100%. So 1 minus all these decimals are going to give me, it should give me a value of 1. All of this should add up to be 1 because no probability can be greater than 1 because 1 is 100%. So now I am going to just test it and find out if I add all this together. Here's Rooster's auto sum button. Miss Benzi, I love the auto sum button. All right, cool. There it is, you guys. I am going to move all that over. and I have a total of 1. Very good. Now I am going to Control C all of this stuff and Control V it right into the next column there. All right, so now I want to know what all of this looks like as a percent. And I'm going to move some of these to a tenth. Anything that is to a tenth, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to select the rest, and I am going to keep moving it. Oh, heck. Let's just do them all the same. Let's just get some big old numbers here. How about that? Whoops. What's the most there? That's the absolute most I would have to have all of them show at least 3 digits past the beginning zeros. So as a percentage, you can see you have almost a 77% chance of scratching nothing and losing your $5. You have this percent. What the heck is that? That's basically 0%, isn't it? Chance of winning 100 grand. All right, now let's check our expected outcomes. What is an expected outcome? The expected outcome is the probability of something happening, which are these, all 3 of these columns really, the probability of an event occurring, and the amount that the value, or in this case, the monetary outcome of that event. So we have about a 77% chance of losing $5. So I multiply those things together. I have equals this value times this value, and I hit enter. All right, super de-duper. My expected outcome of buying my expected outcome for that one event is losing $385, but we want to know the outcome of all the events. What's the expected outcome of buying any one ticket on at any time? And what I do there is I get this for each one. The probability of it happening times the amount of the outcome. And you can use either the decimal or the percentage to get these values. You just can't use this fraction column because we have put this apostrophe in each one, which you guys probably didn't know until we started the second piece, but hopefully that's right, because this was on pause, so you didn't actually get to see me put this in. Now you know. Sorry. It took you a little extra time, but I'm sure you'll never forget. All right, so now here we have our percentages. I'm just going to test this out just to make sure it adds up to 100%, which indeed it does. And just to make this look better, I'm going to move these decimals over. I am going to actually highlight this, all these 3, and just something different, maybe a nice, I don't know what, peach? Now, let's add all this up. All of that stuff, Rooster's auto sum button, I'm actually going to highlight this with a nice bright yellow because this is the expected outcome of winning what you should expect to get for any piece. All right, let's look at the rest of this. Create 3 digits. Use your table to find the expected value of buying one ticket and round your answer to 2 decimal places. That's this yellow piece right here. Define the meaning of the expected value for this lottery ticket. Well, we just discussed it. It means the expected outcome of randomly buying any ticket anytime. If you buy enough of them, then you would eventually get this amount of money. It's the law of large numbers, a little outside the scope of this particular problem. How much profit would the state expect to make if they sold 5 million of these tickets? Well, let's make ourselves another little data chart here. I want to know the buyer's expected outcome. And then, when things are too big, it just gets out of hand, you know? the buyer's expected outcome, and then I also want to know the, well, I guess I can just copy this right over there. Except for on this one, I want to write the sellers. So in other words, whoever's buying it and whoever is selling it. And you can capitalize this E. I hope you guys are doing better than me here. All right, now I am going to select these two cells. I'm going to right click. I am going to format, align, and wrap. And I am going to center them because I like how it looks. And now this uncapitalized E is bothering me. You cannot unsee something. Sometimes you wish you didn't see it. All right, so now here I am also going to give myself some borders. I am going to, I already started this thing with gray for whatever reason, I don't know, but there's some nice gray again. A little lighter, but that's fine. And then let's highlight these in yellow. These are going to be my expected outcomes. So that means that the buyer's expected outcome is going to be a negative, well, let's just put a loss of $1.93. I'm going to go ahead and make this column just a little bit wider. I'm actually going to make both of these columns wider. And then in this column, I'm going to put a gain of $1.93. All right, and then now let's figure out if the seller sells 1 million tickets. So let's go ahead and grab this, move it over here. Seller's expected outcome for selling how many? Did it say? 5 million? For selling 5 million tickets. Wow. All right, let's make this a little bigger. And I'm even going to go ahead and make this font just a little bit smaller. All right, so here we have all of this. And now for this one, I'm going to change this amount. And I'm going to put equals 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 194. And there we have that. I'm going to give it a $sign. Currency. Whoops. All right. Wow, it looks like they're going to make $9,700,000,000. It sounds like some number a little kid would make up, doesn't it? All right, now what you guys are going to do next is insert. Well, I really like your explanations to be over on the other side, but that'll be fine. Just make sure I can see everything clearly. I am going to insert a text box right about here. And not me, you guys are going to give me a little explanation about the probabilities of buying a lottery ticket. And just all about the problem, how much the buyer loses and the seller gains, and look how much the seller gains. Is it really that outrageous to think that they would sell 5 million $5 scratch tickets? I don't think so. I think 5 million people probably buy scratch tickets. That's an interesting thing to Google. If anybody Googles that, put it in your report, would you? Because that'd be interesting. And, you know, over here on these, when you see this number sign, you guys, you have options. You can widen this, or you can make it less decimals, all kinds of different things if that happens to you. All right, I'm ready to roll on to number 4. Here we go. All right, guys, number 4. Let's get her done. Okay, so number 4 is find the odds in favor and the odds against the event with this probability. Oh, good. This is a pretty easy one, isn't it? All right, so I have an event. I want to know the odds against and the odds for. It says here to write the reduced fraction decimal to the thousandths place and the percent to the nearest tenths. Oh, it looks like somebody got carried away with those instructions. Well, the good news is I already have this little chart. I'm going to go ahead and reuse this chart, maybe. I don't know. Let's see how much of it I can reuse. I really do not know. All right. What all stuff do I have here? I have a probability of an event, and then I have the odds in favor, and then the odds against. And it looks like I do not need this column. So actually I have nothing on this whole row, so I can just go ahead and delete the whole row. It's just really the easiest way to deal with that. All right, and this is data that does not belong to this problem, so off you go, clear contents. And now I can start looking at my stuff. The probability of this event occurring is 9/13. So I'm going to put my apostrophe equals 9/13. Now I want to know the odds of this event occurring. Well, I'm going to actually record my odds here. It says I have to use a fraction, but I'm just going to record it using colons just to show you guys. And remember, what are odds? Well, odds are what we want over what we don't want. So for the probability, we know that we had 9 desirable outcomes over 13 total outcomes. In other words, maybe our team won 9 games out of the 13 games that they played. Trying to make this bigger for you guys. And the probability of them winning would be 9 out of 13. The odds are what? Well, get rid of this equal sign. What are the odds here? The odds are everything we want to happen, which is clearly 9 things, and then out of how many? Well, what's left? Remember, and I'm just getting rid of equal signs here. I just decided I did not want them. Oh, I see why I did that, because I had to. Alrighty, and this one changed to 9 a.m. Huh, isn't that funny? Alright, so I'm still then going to put in equals, or I guess actually I can just put that. And we had 9 over what? Well, what's left? 4? Oh, I got ahead of myself, didn't I? 9 over 4. I'm going to do that here too. Get rid of the equal sign and just keep the apostrophe. And then the odds against. Well, what are odds against? If I say odds against, that means I put what I don't want on the top. So it just switches to 4 over 9. Now, in each of these 3 cases, these are my simplified fractions. So all of these can actually just be brought right over here, because the simplified version of each of these fractions is, they already are, because they are what we call relatively prime. Even though like 9 is not a prime number, it doesn't share any factors with 13. Neither 9 nor 4 are prime, but they do not share any factors, so they are relatively prime. All right, I'm going to move over here now to my Control C, Control V. When you get that green thing going around and you can't get rid of it, you just hit escape. Took me probably an hour and a half to Google that a year ago. All right, now to the decimal, I'm just going to get each of these decimals, and then I'll come back and fix stuff. All right, this one, I clearly need this to be a number. All right, and then I want these numbers rounded to the nearest thousandth. So off with all of those. Off with all of those. And this one needs one more. Well, even though it does not need the 0, again, I'm just putting it there to show you that it is rounded to the thousandths place. Now a percent, so I'm just going to Control C, Control V, each of these. Select these and change it to percent. And move to include a 10th digit. All right, now it looks like I'm ready to answer some new questions. What are they? Draw a diagram. Oh, okay. So draw a diagram showing the odds in favor, write a reduced fraction, and decimal. All right, let's go ahead and draw a diagram for these. I am going to use I can think of a couple different things that I can actually do here. Let me make this smaller to give myself a little bit more manageable space. I'm going to select the data and insert. Wait, I don't want all this data. What I do want to show is the labels, and I will use percentage. All right, let's see if I did this right. And I should tell you guys, I should actually redo this. I'm actually selecting these 3 columns, event, odds in favor, odds against, and then I'm holding down my control key, and then I'm going to come over and I'm going to select just these percents. I don't know, maybe I'll select that other one too and see what it gives me. Insert a bar graph. All right, I'm holding my control key down and unselecting the part that says percent to the nearest tenth, and I'm going to try this again. All right, there we go. So I was just experimenting. Sorry if you took up your time. Just kidding. All right, so here I have this nice little 3D graph. That's kind of cool. These other graphs aren't really showing me anything. I can't really decipher. That one's interesting. Just a horizontal instead of a vertical. But I think I'm going to stick with this 3D. I kind of like that. And now it shows me, I can clearly see the probability of my event occurring. But then look at this. This is interesting. The odds in favor. Well, what do you have when you have 250%? You know, a math person is going to tell you 100% is the most you can have. But 250%, all that means is 2.5 times more. That's when you see something over 1%, it's 2.5 times more likely to occur. So you guys, why don't you guys talk to me about the difference between the odds in favor, the odds against, the probability. Here you have a chart. I do expect, oh, I better show you. I do expect your chart title to be, changed to something that it should be. And then you're going to add your axes titles, and you're going to name this odds and probability, difference between odds and probability. And over here you can put your percentages. You could have chosen to use fractions. You can choose to do lots of different things here. You could change this to look a little cooler. All kinds of stuff that you can do. Okay, I do expect to see some of your own stuff here, guys. Now, what else do we have? Another diagram that I was thinking, we could insert a shape right here, illustrations. Because my Excel is shrunken down, I don't have all my options, but my illustrations, I could put in a shape. This is actually the first diagram I thought of. And in this one, I might write odds in favor. Oops, not favor, just favor. I'm going to go to home and centralize that. And then, let's see, I'm also going to insert more stuff. Insert another dot. Control, oops, where did that go? Oh, I have to draw it. So now I'm just going to put this little dot. I'm going to fill it with a orange and outline it in orange. Or actually, no, I'm changing my mind. I'm going to do it in green and outline it in green. I'll tell you why in a second. And then I'm going to call this my odds in favor. And how many of those do I have? 9. Control C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 control victors. And then just kind of move these around here. Hope you guys can get the idea. All right, those are my odds in favor. Now I'm going to control, whoops, one more of these little guys, and I'm going to make this one red. I am going to right click, outline red, and I am going to fill it red. And these are going to be my against. And I had 4 of those, so control C, control Victor, Victor, Victor. Now I have 4 of them. So now I show that my odds in favor are on the left and my odds against are on the right. And now I can actually select all of this stuff. I have to actually select it like this. I don't know. Control C, Control V. I didn't get it all, but at least I saved myself a little bit of work. All right, and I'm going to move all these green spots. Uh-oh. And I should have told you guys to select multiple things, you hold down your control button. Right now I'm going to hold down my control button and I'm going to unselect the big circle and just select these little circles and move them over. I didn't really save myself that much work. But now to show odds against, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Control C, 7, 8, 9 of these things. There are many faster ways I could have done this for sure, but everything we do here is something new you learn in Excel. All right, so here I select this red odds against, and I hold down my control button and select the others. Oops. This is why I didn't select all the greens. Sometimes it's hard. Then control C and then control Victor. And now they're all selected and I can move them together over there. And now I have a little diagram showing me odds in favor and odds against. See how first odds in favor green is first and then odds against red is first. Pretty cool, eh? I'm ready to move on to number 5. And yay, that was a short video. All right, folks, let's have a look at numero 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Numero 5. I always have to say it to remember. All right, so number 5, we are talking about what? I wrote 4, but I meant 5. I always copy those and control B, control Bravo to make it bold, in case you ever wondered. All right, so here we have a chart of the branches of the military. I am going to select this chart. I am not trying to hurt your feelings when I say I can select this and you can't. And I'm sorry that I had to do it that way, but I did. I want none of that. I am going to, well, darn. I want no highlighting. Or I had an option to stop highlighting. Thank you very much. Okay, I am selecting all of this here. And I am going to paste it. But you guys are going to have to, you know, type it in. So you just have to pause the video and do it. And you know, anytime you don't have the right size, you don't have to count the cells when you cut and paste. If it says the data you're pasting isn't the same size, fine, no problem. All right, cool. And I even already have my thing outlined, but I'm going to go ahead and outline it even better. All right, so hopefully you guys have all this entered into yours, and none of this is done magically. This is all just regular type. So I am going to do a few things. Let's look at our problem here. And I know that I keep forgetting to have you guys label these questions, but you do need to label them. I don't expect that you only do what I do on these videos. I do expect that you guys do some of your own stuff. So each of these questions should have a nice label by it, please. All right, everybody knows I'm about to colorize my charts here. I'll go ahead and make all this stuff blue. All right, now there are some things it says to do. Calculate the number of women and men in each branch and the percentage of men. So it already gives me the total number of people, the percentage of women. I have no information about men. So I need to find how many women, and I need to find the percentage of men and how many men. This is where we fall in love or are reminded why we so love Excel. I'm going to right click on men here. And no, that actually won't work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select my men's chart here, and I am going to drag it down one. Now right here, I am going to write women, or how about total women? I need a little more width there. Oh, it wrapped it for me. That'll do too. But I think for the aesthetics of this chart, I'm going to go ahead and do it like that. And then I am going to actually just copy that cell, paste it down here, and delete the WO. And I guess I will even capitalize the M. All right. I am also going to make this, for whatever reason, it kept that wide, and I don't want it wide. All right. I am going to all borders this thing. All right, things are looking pretty good. Looks like I made my total women row just a little bit too narrow. I just want it to look normal. There we go. All right, guys, let's get busy. Now, I have this beautiful little chart here, and now I want to know the total number of women. Well, I know that 13.6% of all the people in the Army are women. So I can calculate equals 13.6% times 539,170 equals 73,327.12. We're going to round this to the nearest integer because people don't come in fractions. All right, and then I am going to actually apply what I just did here all the way across. And there we go. Now I want to know the percentage of men. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you did not know that it's 100% women and men, so in this case I know that if I have 100%, I better actually put my percent here, I think. I don't know, let's see. 100 minus 13.6% equals, all right, that got way too big. The reason is because, you see what's happening here? The reason this happened is because I used 100 as just its regular number, but I really needed that to be a percentage. So I'm just going to put a 1 here. Let's see what happens. All right, and now we have the right answer. And I could have done my 100, let's just try it, 100%, and I would get the right answer. I'm just going to move that. So you guys have ways that you can do pretty much all this stuff can be done in all kinds of different ways. And then now I want to know for the men, what is 86.4% of times 539,170? And it is 465,842. I'm going to move that decimal over since we do not deal with portions, fractions of people. You know, live people in the military for, never mind. Thank you all for your service, and for all of our lost soldiers, thank you for your service. Here, I am now going to apply both of these formulas all the way across the board. Very good. Now, we have just answered all of that. Isn't that amazing? I am going to now decide what we need. We need the probabilities. Oh, it says to create a graph to show the number of women, men, and totals. All right, so I am going to include all of my branches and the totals. I just selected those 2 rows. Now I'm going to hold down my control key and I'm going to select total women and total men. Okay, and then I am going to insert I just like these 3D graphs, don't you guys? I can do a vertical one, or a horizontal one, just to show a little bit different. Make sure, folks, please make sure that your graphs and charts are fully titled. So you'll need to title your graph. You'll also need to add axes titles. Data labels are just always too busy. You can add them if you want to. That actually doesn't look bad. If it was bigger, it'd be even better. You can add your table. Excuse me, it doesn't include the whole table, but just the parts that we used. Isn't all that cool, you guys? So make sure once you add your axes titles that you actually put it in here. What is this axes? Branches of the military, number of soldiers. All right, now let's look at the probabilities that it's asking for. First of all, it wants to know the probability of what? Find the probability that an individual on active duty was a woman, given that she was either in the Air Force, Marines, or Coast Guard. All right, so what does this look like? The probability of a woman, given that she was in the, actually, I have got to use my highlighter. Highlight stuff. Find the probability that active duty was a woman, given she was either in the Air Force, Marines, or Coast Guard. Oh, and then we have the reduced fraction, decimal, thousandths place, and all that again. All right, I should have that memorized by now. That she was a woman, given that she was in the Air Force. I'm going to use a semicolon. Air Force, Marines, or Coast Guard. All right, now what information do I need to determine this? This is set up just like a fraction, you guys. First of all, I have my women, right? So now I need to know how many women were in these branches. Women, given that she was in any of these. All right, so let's see how many women we have here in these branches. I don't care about women in other branches. I only want to know the probability of selecting a woman from these branches. So my numerator is going to be the total number of women in these branches, and my denominator is going to be the total number of people in these branches. So right here I'm going to label this decimal. Oh, actually, never mind. I don't have to do that because I have all this. Is this all the same stuff? Surely it is. Decimal and percent to the nearest thousandths. Let's just see. I think this may have been added, but should not have been added. Let's see what, there's too much data here to do all this. A fraction. All right, we can do this, can't we? Fraction, simplified fraction, decimal to the nearest thousandths, and percent to the tenths. Let's do it. We got this. All right, and then what else do I have? And then I have the, can I just reuse this? How many of these things do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. All right, what's the next one? Find the probability that an individual was in the army given he was a man. So now I'm going to need to know army given that he was a man. All right, so this one is going to be total number of men in the army. I'm sorry, total number of men in the army out of the total number of men. All right, let's go to the next one here. The probability that an individual was not a Marine given it was a woman. All right, so now my denominator is going to be all the women. Shouldn't I be writing women instead of woman? Oh, I only did that once right here. All right, so the condition is that it has to be a woman. And I want to know, I stopped highlighting, didn't I? The probability that an individual was not a Marine given they were a woman. So, not a Marine. All right, and then the last piece, find the probability that an individual was a man given Air Force. All right, so now my denominator is going to be Air Force. And my numerator is a man. All right, let's start checking this stuff out. All right, another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move all this stuff to the right. Or center it, one or the other. Which one? Center? No. Move it to the right. I think I'm going to keep it like that. There we go. All right, fractions. I am going to press enter. An equal sign. And my fractions are going to be the number of, I'm going to put my apostrophe here. Oh, if I do the apostrophe, okay, that's fine. Uh-oh. What did I need up here? Is there other information that I need? Let's see. Total number of women altogether. Do I need those numbers for any parts of this? It looks like I do. Not a Marine, a woman, not a Marine. So let's go ahead and do some calculations here. I'm going to need a place to do these calculations. So I am going to move this chart. What else might I do? I am going to move these items. I have just made a different decision, no problem. You guys can follow along. I'll just go over that again real quick. I just realized that I'm going to need to do some calculations for each one of these problems, and I want to keep all my data together. So I don't really like the chart that I created all together, but I'm going to separate it up a little. So I am going to move these three things just out of my way for now. And I'm actually going to move this one down one. Okay. So I need some calculations here. The first thing I need is I need to know the number of women in the Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. All right, so that is going to go right here. I'm going to put my equal sign, and I want to know just the number of women in the Air Force plus the number of women in the Marines plus the number of women in the Coast Guard. And then I'm going to hit enter. And there it is. Voila. Now for my denominator, I need to know what? The total. Uh-oh, you see what I've done? Okay, so yes, this is right. Sorry, guys. All right, so now I need the total number of, or I'll just write total soldiers in these three branches. I'm just going to come back up here and Control C, Control Victor. I'm going to make this column a little bit wider. All right, very nice. And I'm just going to move that over again. Move that over. All right, now I need the total of all the people in those. So, again, I press the equal sign, and I am going to find the number of people in the Air Force. Oh, and I have that number. The total number of people in the Air Force plus the total number of the people in the Marines. Uh-oh, what happened here? Air Force. Oh, because again, I'm pressing enter instead of the plus sign. All right, let's go back. Air Force plus Marines plus Coast Guard. And Coast Guard is Hotel 101. Just going to double check that up here. Hotel, okay, good. Alrighty, now in order to get my probability, I simply put in this fraction. So I am going to do the number of women is 81390 divided by 564,235, and then I hit enter. And again, I'm going to make my column just a little bit wider. All right, now I can grab this fraction, Control Charlie. And the reason it won't click in there is because my column needs to be just a little bit wider to get out of the other one, to get adjacent to it. All right, now I am going to hit enter here. It gave me a decimal, but I need a fraction, so I come on up here and get myself a fraction. But the fraction is very small, and this one will only let me go to 3 digits, I think. Yep. So that's all you got, folks, is a 3-digit fraction. That'll just have to do. All right, and then put it in here to the nearest decimal to the thousandths place. Move that decimal. And then a percent to the nearest tenths. Click percent, and there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm also going to highlight this blue. And then I'm going to go ahead and see, what else should I do? I guess that's it. I guess I could highlight my answers yellow or something. Show that they're my answers. Make this into a little chart. all borders. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do now, folks, is I'm actually going to copy this, Control C, and I'm going to stick it right here, Control Victor. I am going to clear this data. And then I am going to copy this, Control X, because I want that to go away. And I'm going to put it right in here, Control Victor. All right, now I am going to copy all of this, Control Charlie, again, Control Victor. Oh, did not mean to do that, did not mean to do that, because remember, I'm going to need these two spaces again, right? So let's actually get this out of my way. I'm going to need, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put this in here again. Control Charlie. Sometimes it doesn't take, that's okay. And if it's not exactly the exact amount apart, that's okay too. Control Victor. Control X-ray. Control Victor. You guys, there are so many ways to do this. It is a Control X-ray. It is a good idea to practice all this clicking. The hardest part about Excel is practicing all this clicking. You know, the calculations kind of come natural with Excel. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just moving these up a couple just to make it look nice. All right, so I am going to actually leave you guys to fill in all of these blanks. Just don't forget. I'm just going back up to this last one because it looks like I forgot to tell you to do a summary, which unfortunately, if I forget to tell you to do a summary, about 50% of you will not do one. You know, so keep that in mind, you guys. Don't be minimalist. Always be proud of your work. I'm going to insert a text box for this problem number 4. I did not do anything with number 4, and it certainly needed an explanation. Number 4 should talk about all these differences. I may have said that, but I didn't show you to insert the text box, so I don't know. All right, so now here I'm going to give myself the same text box, Control C, Control V. Heck, why not, since it's already sitting there? And here I'm going to give a nice explanation about the differences I see in my chart between the number of women and the number of men in the military branches. I might talk about how the number of men is almost equal to the total visually on my chart here. You guys could even get fancy and insert a pie chart on your percentages, but you would have to do it for each branch. It would be very time consuming because anyway, never mind what I just said. It would just be too much to even talk about right now. So here you're going to give your little explanation. Make sure you guys do all these calculations. Excellent job. We're on our last problem, number 6. Yay! All right, guys, so we're on number 6. I actually just went on doing number 6. Totally forgot that I had to restart the video. All right, so for number 6, it's quite time consuming. It wants you to list 4 requirements of a binomial experiment. Of course, I'm doing this video, so you guys probably are not going to Google this, but you would just Control C, since I already know you're not going to do it because I did it. I'll just do it in front of you. Hopefully my internet is moving quickly today. Even if I was in my classroom, it would be moving quickly because I have amazing internet in my classroom. Thank you, NPC Tech Support. All right, here it is, right here. Looky there, the very first thing that pops up. Folks, when I get emails asking these types of questions, saying you can't find it anywhere, you know, please use Google. I know most of you don't, but there are some. All right, so list the 4 requirements of a binomial experiment. write the distribution formulas. I can Google that just as easily. Those are also in your textbook and in your examples, which your whole example for this problem number 40 on your homework shows you exactly how to do this in Excel. Actually makes it super duper easy, a lot easier than what it's going to be doing it on this video right now. All right, so write the binomial distribution formula in at least 2 different ways. There are so many different ways out there, folks, but we're just looking for the 2 top ways. And then identify the value for each part of the formula and plug it in for each of your 3 formulas and show that they're equal. All right. And I forgot to even talk about the problem here. It's that somebody's taking a quiz with 10 questions on it, only because I already did all this. But, you know, I realized I didn't hit record. So I might have said some things I'll forget to say this time. A person is taking a quiz with 10 questions and they randomly get 8 of those questions correct and say, hey, I didn't even read the questions. I just randomly guessed. And we're going to figure out the probability of that truly happening. And then we're going to decide whether or not we believe the classmate who said that they did that. All right. Now, I've already typed all this out. So now you guys are going to get to type it out yourselves. And this is all done. In case you guys didn't know, I've already actually made this whole entire video, but I accidentally went to the top to undo something. I think I mentioned this in the beginning and accidentally hit that audio button right there. I'm scared to even get close to it and turn the microphone off. So since I already typed all this, it is not cheating for me to come over here and gather all of this data because it is my work. All right, so Control C, and I'm just going to come over here and paste it all in. Control Victor. Now, you guys, the only thing that I need to undo here are these calculations. And something I would like to have you guys do is on your Excels at the beginning of your whole Excel video, I would like to see your formulas. And you just do that by going up here to your formula tab and making it big, going to the formula tab, and then it says show formulas. And see how it actually shows all the formulas that you use. Look at this through the whole thing. What else? See right here where it shows like Golf 102, Golf 101. It shows everything you actually clicked on. So when you guys upload your Excel, I can go to show formulas and look to see if you actually used formulas or did you just sit here on my Excel and type all this stuff in. Oh, I hope you did not type it all in. All right, see how it changes everything to the formulas instead? All right, let's get back to work here. Back to what we were doing. We are looking at, we have all of our data listed. I'm going to clear this data out. And we will struggle through this together because it is a struggle. I'm going to pause the video because my family just got home. They were staying gone long enough for me to make this video, but due to my brother's emergency, it was prolonged. All right, so here we are back from being paused. All right, so here we have our conditions. To have a binomial experiment, it has to be a fixed number of trials. It cannot have an infinite number of trials that can just keep happening. We have to give it a value. Each trial has to be independent of the other trial, which means they cannot affect each other, and one cannot occur at the same time that the other one occurs. There are only 2 outcomes. In this case, we're dealing with an outcome that's right or an outcome that's wrong. And then we have the probability of each outcome remains constant for each trial. Well, in this case, we have 10 questions. Each answer is either right or wrong. No one answer affects the other. And the probability of each outcome, it says if you read this question, that there are 4 choices for each question. So therefore, we have a 25% probability for any of the 10 outcomes. We have two major binomial formulas here. There are a lot of different ways to write this. We're going to show you that these two things are exactly identical. And then we have our Excel command, which it says somewhere in all these words. I should still be using my highlighter, but you guys should highlight. Or you can't highlight because yours is a picture. But yes, you can actually still draw on your document even though it's a picture. Maybe. Some of you can, depending on your device. All right, so back here, now I have also named each of the variables. I have created a description for what each variable stands for. And then I came down here and I actually gave the values from the word problem. We had 8 out of 10 questions right. That means we had 8 outcomes that we were looking for out of 10 possible choices. There were 4 choices for each question and only one answer is correct. That's where we get the 25%. And then we have, I think that's it. All right, you can see just down here, I'm back on my chart. And what was I going to do? Highlight that stuff? It looked like I was about to, didn't it? Only one is correct, 8 out of 10. All right, how about all that? All right, coming back over here, folks. Here you see this N. I'm back on my formulas. Make this a little bigger. Our formulas for a binomial distribution. I guess I am going to show you. I probably could have just left it there and clicked on one of those things and it would have given it to me. But a binomial distribution can look awfully confusing. And here are what the formulas look like. Ladies and gentlemen, here, well, you don't normally see the capital N, which stands for a population. These are just a little bit beyond the scope of this course. I'm just going to look for Wikipedia. Or here, how about these images? This will do, maybe, hopefully. All right, here it is. This is a good one. Here we use the lowercase n for the sample. So we have the binomial distribution formula. Where you guys see this n over x here, this is the same thing as n choose x. And if I clicked on some more of these formulas, we would see that. Right here, you can see where it has n choose x. It's just a different way of writing it. And that is just should look familiar to you guys, a combination. So when we're looking at this n choose x is just what we've been looking at, n choose r. And what is the formula for n choose x? Well, it's n factorial divided by quantity n minus x factorial times x factorial. And you guys have been looking at these as r's. These are exactly the same. And then we will see that our variables, the variable q is represented as 1 minus p. So that's why in the top formula it says 1 minus p raised to the n minus x. But down here it has q to the n minus x. Those are exactly the same thing. 1 minus p is q. So you can just see these formulas written either way, but I just want you guys to see that they are the same. All right, B represents a binomial probability. X represents the total number of successes, pass or fail, heads or tails, etc. And I just cut and paste all this stuff right off Google. The total number of successes in this case is 8 because those were the number of questions that were correct. The probability of a success on an individual trial was 1 out of 4. It says right here that 4 choices for each question, 1 is correct. And then we have our probability of a success happening. Oh, we just said that, 1/4. Q is 1 minus P. It's the probability of the event not happening or getting a failure. So it's just 1 minus P. And we kind of did something like that right up here, didn't we? Oh, when we found the probability of men, remember we did 1 minus the probability of, the percent Same exact concept we're looking at here for our Q. And then N is the number of trials. In this case, we had 10 questions. So on my little chart over here, see where percentage is not quite showing the N? I'm just going to widen that a little just because I like it to look good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here's the part where we run into problems. Right here in my calculation, I am going to hit the equal sign. And then I am going to put in my combination, COMB, combination, double click. And I want the combination of N choose X, the combination of 10 items, comma, chosen 8 different ways, close parentheses. And then I'm going to, this is my formula, I'm following this formula, N choose X, times, move this over so you guys can see it. Oh, now I can't see my, I'm going to have to get out of here because I cannot make my screen smaller while I'm in that. I guess actually what I could do is just get my full screen here. How's that? Does that look good? All right, so now back to our formula. All right, here's my N choose X, and I'm looking right here, you guys, times, I say right here, I'm talking about the cell to the left, times Papa, raised to the power of, that's shift 6, raised to the power of X, times 1 minus Papa, so I'm going to actually use some parentheses here, 1 minus Papa, raised to the power of, parenthesis, N minus X, close parenthesis. Enter. And I get my calculation. The probability of that happening. Wow. What percentage is that? Well, and guys, we're just going to copy this right down here because this is exactly the same thing that we just did. It wouldn't let me pull it down because of the way I chose these. It's choosing the exact same proximities. But I can copy and paste it. Sometimes you can't pull it down, but you can copy and paste. And we've already discussed that these are identical formulas. And now I want the percentage. And I am just, again, I'm just going to Control Victor in there. And does it say anywhere in the problem what we should round these percentages to? Round to 6 decimal places. All right. So rounding this to 6 decimal places, I'm just going to select my percentage, go back to home, click on my decimals and take it to 6 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I need to widen this or make my font smaller, one or the other. All right, now it looks like I've got everything. What about my binomial distribution? It looks like I've got some cells merged here, so I'm just going to merge these cells. You guys can or can't. I'm also going to select all 3 of these and move them to the far right. All right, my binomial distribution formula. What else might I want to do, actually? I think I want to take these off here. I actually did this a little differently on a different video that I originally did, but this was more efficient, so you're welcome. All right, and then the binomial distribution formula. Yay, watch this, folks. Equals binomial distribution. There it is right there. Double click. Binomial distribution. Put in the number, that's your successes, so that would be 8, comma, number of trials was 10, comma, the probability of each event occurring, comma, and if you check your example on your homework for this problem, you will see it asks you to select false here. Close your parenthesis, hit enter, and voila! How do you like that, ladies and gentlemen? How do you like that? I'm just going to move that right over there. I do not know why that happened, so I'm going to undo it. But I am going to copy and paste. We already all know it's going to be the exact same outcome, but I do follow directions since I'm the one who created them. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't. Your textbook author did. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is my nice little chart. You know that I am going to want to make it pretty. All right, so you have your answers. I can set those up in yellow if I want to. Your chart for this problem, folks, is this one right here. I did not create a graph for this problem. Number 6 is finished. Your Excel report is finished. You did an excellent job. Keep being amazing. You rock. Wait. I did forget to insert a text box. And once you guys insert your text box, you're going to talk to me about stuff. The probability of getting it right or wrong. Where are you going to believe this person who said that they randomly guessed? What were the chances of that happening? Could it be possible? Is it likely to be possible? Talk to me about that kind of stuff. All right. Keep being amazing, everybody. You rock. I will see you soon.